One of my favourite Scots words is murk, dark. And I'm here on the dark side of the tune.
The streets of Glasgow have been the haunt of actor John Michie for quite some time. He's played more than one famous detective, and a lot of his characters have to do at least some of their work at the very spookiest end of the day.
From this, the gloaming, to the how done deed, the very darkest moment, the dead of night. So, there's been a murder. I wonder, were they smeared or thrappled?
All the best murder mysteries are surely set in the murk, in streets like these, with a touch of fog for an acting detective to get lost in.
And as the sky slayly turns, there's always Lachiel's lantern to light the way, or maybe an occasional fire flocht, a shooting star. And I'll be needing this as the gloaming turns into the murk of the how dumb deed.
One of my favourite Scots words is glaikit. I love the sound of glaikit. It's onomatopoeic. It sounds exactly as it means, which is a face empty of all intelligence. I guess the nearest English equivalent would be gormless. But glaikit is just a great word, full of character.
Poet and children's novelist Jackie Kay was raised in Glasgow, and the words that she heard as a child form an important part of her work.
Scots language for me is a great cauldron full of riches. You can just dip into it and get different things and different flavours and tastes every time. If I was a cook, I would definitely be using the Scots language because you get a great big boost in flavour, you get lots of character, you get a sense of uniqueness and a sense of time and place. I like the syntax or the use of repetition. Like my mum might say, I'm not tired, but I'm tired. I'm not hungry, but I'm hungry. And I like that kind of, I think of that as the Glasgow double, that somewhere between these two tires or these two hungries, you know exactly what she means. As a writer, I've always used Scots language in different ways and explored the way that you lose bits of your language when you move country. I mean, I live in England now and I have a kind of a nostalgic relationship to some words that I don't get to hear anymore. I only get to hear when I go back to Glasgow. This poem's called Old Tongue. And I wrote it for my partner who left Scotland, my ex-partner who left Scotland when she was 8 and went to live in England. And it fascinates me when people leave a country, what they often most miss is the language that they've left behind, old tongue. When I was 8, I was forced south. Not long after, when I opened my mouth, a strange thing happened. I lost my Scottish accent. Words fell off my tongue. Egypt, Dreich, Wabbit, Crabbit, Stumer, Tuchter, Heedbanger. So you are, so am are. See you, see mama. Shut your geggy, I'll gie you the malky. My own vowels started to stretch like my bones and I turned my back on Scotland. Words disappeared in the dead of night. New words marched in, ghastly, awful, quite dreadful. Scones, said like stones, pokey hats into ice cream cones. Oh, where did all my words go? My old words, my lost words. Did you ever feel sad when you lost a word? Did you ever try and call it back, like calling in the sea? If I could have found my words wandering, I swear I would have taken them in, swallowed them whole, knocked them back. Out in the English soil, my old words buried themselves. It made my mother's blood boil. I cried one day with the wrong sound in my mouth. I wanted them back. I wanted my old accent back, my old tongue, my dour, sour Scottish tongue. Sing songy. I wanted to gie it laldy.
One of the Scots words I love to use is clarty, and that means when you're covered in mud. And as a zoologist, I'm out in the field a lot hunting for animals and bugs, and you get covered in mud. And when that happens, your hands get clarty. You sometimes have to give them a dicht, which means a wipe on your trousers or your jacket. It's such an expressive word. Look at that, there's loads of them here. Look at that, fantastic. I'm gonna have a wee peek at these bugs. Well, you can tell it's a beetle larva because it's got 3 pairs of legs at the front.
George McGavin is a man with a passion for creepy crawlies, and it leads him to some pretty unusual places.
Very often, when you're hunting for animals, especially if they're insects, you have to get into a tight space, and that usually means getting dirty or clarty, so I usually come home covered in mud. But that's the only place you can find really interesting things. Now, I think there's something lurking behind here, so I'm going to give that up, prise off. Oh, now look at that, see, that's interesting. Now, something's been eaten up here, hidden away here, and all this is falling down. So this... Ah! Yes, very clarty. I'm often asked why I find animals and plants interesting. Obviously there's history and music and art and stuff, but if you take all that away, if you take everything away, what have you got left? And the answer is, animals and plants, the natural world. So I just find it much more interesting.
And in the right place, at the right time, they can be extraordinary.
This is just breathtaking.
These are just some of the amazing insects of Borneo.
That's a huge cicada. The whole of the abdomen is hollow. See that? That's probably one of the ones that wakes us up in the morning. Look at that, that's a beauty. That's an absolute beauty.
Back in Britain, in early spring, insects are a little harder to come across, and thankfully a lot smaller.
An average 8-year-old child could find out something new about the world of insects in their back garden if they just looked. If I had £1 billion, I would buy every kid a hand lens like this, because you can see things happening on the ground, in soil, in bits of dead wood that you just wouldn't believe were happening. There are so many words that are just brilliant when you're outside. There's like, if you're in a stream in mud, you're haying a guddle. Or if you're just out for a walk, you'd say, I'm just away for a burl around this wood, just a walk basically, a look, a keek. And just all these words that I recall from being a small boy. The first spring day, like today, when, a few folks are in their shorts, and you say to yourself, oh, look at his legs, they're awfully peely-welly, they're very pale.
My favourite Scots word has to be feart. I love the way it sounds. It's a really descriptive and expressive word.
Katrina Shearer reads the news for the BBC around 30 times a week.
The first time I ever did a live news broadcast, I was so nervous. My heart was pounding, my palms were sweaty, I had to hook myself up to London, and I was really feart. Nowadays, I manage to slip in the occasional ocht or dreich into a news bulletin, especially when I'm handing over to the weather presenters. But like most newsreaders these days, I just blether on in English.